Uh, we know that under Employee Compensation Act 1923 or a Code on Social Security 2020, uh, employee or the dependents of an employee can claim for a compensation. To claim for a compensation, either this injury must be resulted in either in a disablement or death. The question of dependence comes only when the injury which results in a death of an employee, so that the dependents can claim for a compensation. So the type or categories of dependents we discussed in a previous session, category 1, category 2 and category 2. We know that category 1 or whoever falls under category 1, they need not prove before the court of law that they were dependent on earning of the deceased. So that is very, very clear. Some of the people falls in those category, a widow, widowed mother, legitimate son, adopted son, unmarried legitimate daughter, or adopted daughter. So those are all people falls in a first category. Second category, we know that of course they attain the age of 18, but they are infirm, both daughter and son, infirm. But what they need to prove? They need to prove that they are wholly depends upon the earning of the deceased. Who falls in a third category, they should prove that either partly or wholly they were depending upon the earning of the deceased. So that they need to prove in order to claim for a employee compensation. We'll discuss now the different types of disablement. Disablement. The disablement can be classified into the permanent partial disablement, permanent total disablement, and temporary disablement. I repeat, the injury must be resulted in either permanent partial disablement, permanent total disablement, or temporary disablement. So we will discuss the meaning of these disablements one by one. First, permanent partial disablement. Anybody want to read?
Permanent partial disablement means where the disablement is of permanent nature. Such disablement as reduces the earning capacity of an employee in every employment which he was capable of undertaking at the time of the accident resulting in the disablement.
Read it carefully. The permanent partial disablement means permanent partial. Here it is not temporary. Permanent partial disablement means where the disablement is of permanent nature. Note it down here. Disablement is of permanent nature. Permanent nature. Such disablement as reduces the earning capacity of an employee. Please note it down. It reduces the earning capacity of an employee. I mean, whichever disablement which reduces the earning capacity of an employee. Earlier he was earning say 100 rupee per day. Now he is earning just 70 rupees. What does it indicate? It indicates that so there is a reduction in earning capacity. Earning capacity. This is just for an example, because earning must be separated from the earning capacity, because earning is not same as that of the earning capacity. Please keep it in mind. Earning capacity is different from earning capacity. That's what I repeat. Any disablement, we can say that it is a permanent in nature, which reduces the earning capacity of an employee. In which employment? Reduction in earning capacity of an employee in every employment in which he was capable of undertaking at the time of an accident resulting in the disablement. It means any disablement, because suppose any accident cost which resulted in a disablement, such disablement reduces the earning capacity of an employee in every employment in which he was capable of undertaking. I mean, this particular disablement, it is not incapacitated the person from employment. He can work, but which reduces the earning capacity of an employee. Earning capacity of an employee, not the earning. Not the earning. We cannot take in an equal foot the earning as well earning capacity. So whatever the disablement, which if it reduces the earning capacity of an employee in every employment in which he was capable of undertaking at the time of accident, resulting in disablement. So we can say that it is a permanent partial disablement. When we can say that permanent partial disablement, whatever the disablement which reduces the earning capacity of an employee in every employment which he was capable of undertaking at the time of an accident, resulting in disablement. Clear? One case I'll take, the Upper Dauba Sugar Mills Limited. Upper, please note it down, these words. It is important while calculating the employee compensation, how to calculate during the time of permanent partial disablement, what is the reduction? So that you should know. So one of the case law in this regard, disablement, the Upper Dauba Sugar Mills Limited. Sugar Mills Limited versus Daulat Ram. Daulat Ram. The fact of the case, a blacksmith had lost the index and middle finger. I repeat, in this case, a blacksmith had lost the index and middle finger. So he lost during his work. So while doing a work, some incident took place and he lost index and middle finger. And the rest of the hand, namely the thumb and other two fingers, could be utilized in a work. So since he lost two fingers, so with the rest of the hand, so with the thumb and other two fingers could be utilized in a work. Now, what exactly the kind of disablement here? Whether permanent or total?
Permanent.
In this case, the test laid down to determine the nature of disablement, the test laid down, it is not enough if it is found that the employee is disabled from performing his duties of a blacksmith fitter. I repeat, it is not if it is found that the employee is disabled from performing his duties of a blacksmith fitter. What court should consider here? Court should consider whether he has been incapacitated from undertaking any employment, or whether in that other employment the rest of the hand could be utilized or not. The question here very simple. In this case, whether blacksmith, whether he can do that blacksmith work or not as a blacksmith fitter. Can he continue this work or not? Suppose in case if he cannot continue as a blacksmith fitter, can he do other work? Can he do other work? Suppose this particular injury, in case which reduces the earning capacity, in the sense he cannot do blacksmith fitter work, but he can do other work. But he can do other type of work. Now we can say that this is what the permanent partial disablement. Is it a total? It is not a total. Just there is a reduction in earning capacity of an employee, because of course he cannot do blacksmith worker, but he can do. I mean, court will take into consideration these aspects. Whether can he continue as a blacksmith fitter or can he do other work? In case if he cannot do blacksmith work as well as other work, now question comes, what type of disablement it is. It is. I think like in case if I explain like another point, the permanent total disablement, you'll understand in a better way. I'll go
Yes, sir,
ahead
but
and I'll explain.
the blacksmith, like if there's no other work for him, like what happens then?
I'll come to you, Ken. We'll
Okay.
discuss about the total disablement, and I think like for a better understanding. Fine?
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes. But in a when you look at the schedule of this code, the Code on Social Security 2020, you could find these are all a list of the permanent partial disability. See, in this case, provided that every injury specified in Part 2nd of 4th schedule shall be deemed to result in a permanent partial disablement. I'll take this schedule. You just remind me. Part 2nd of 4th schedule. We look at part 2nd of 4th schedule. Can you see the PDF file?
Yes, sir.
No, just for the better understanding, we'll look at the schedules, because the legislation itself mention, suppose if it falls in a part 2nd of 4th schedule, so we can say that it is permanent partial disablement. Just there is a reduction in earning capacity, that's it. There is no incapacity. Such injury not incapacitated a person from earning, just there is a reduction in earning capacity. So we look at the 4th schedule. See here, this is the 4th schedule. We look at part 2nd. See, part 2nd. Part. See, percentage of loss of earning capacity. List of injured deemed to result in a permanent partial disablement. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
List of injuries deemed to result in, it is permanent, but it is partial disablement. See, percentage of loss of earning capacity. See, amputation through shoulder joint, 90%. So the percentage is important, that we'll discuss later while calculating the compensation. Loss of 2 fingers of one hand, 20% reduction. Loss of terminal phalanx of thumb, 20%. See, loss of thumb and its metacarpal bone, 40%. All these are medical terminology. Fine. I hope you understood. This is what the reduction in earning capacity. What exactly the reduction in earning capacity? See here. Other injuries, loss of one eye without complications, the other being normal, 40% reduction. 40%. It is partial. What do you mean by this 40%? In the sense, there is a 40% reduction, but 60% he can earn. I mean, simple 40% reduction in sense, earlier in case he was earning, I mean, his earning capacity was 100%. Now, because of this injury, there is a reduction of 40%. Now, his earning capacity is 60%. That's it. Got it? Say, middle finger. Everything is listed. Everything is listed very clearly. So, we'll discuss this little later. I'll come again. Now, we'll go back to the PPT. I think you can see the PPT now. So this is what the permanent partial disablement. Simple. There is a reduction in every employment. We can say that the permanent partial disablement. It is permanent, but it is a partial disablement because there is a reduction in earning capacity. Yes, Ken.
What if the the employee gets injured, meets with an accident or whatever during employment, like So
No,
would he get like a compensation instead of?
yeah, this is what we're discussing. I mean, that part, when employee can claim for a compensation and when the employer can escape from the liability of paying the compensation, that we'll discuss in a next part.
Okay,
Because certain things need to be proved before claiming for a compensation. What are the conditions need to be satisfied? That we'll discuss in the next slide after discussing this type of disablement. Fine.
yes, sir.
Yes. Now, permanent total disablement. Look at the difference between permanent partial and permanent total. Can you read this?
Yes, sir. Permanent total disablement means such disablement of a permanent nature as incapacitates an employee for all work which he was capable of performing at the time of the accident while resulting in such disablement.
See, there we could find a word. Of course, it is a permanent nature there, but which reduces the earning capacity. But there we don't find the incapacity. We don't find. But whatever the disablement which is a permanent total in nature, which incapacitates a person to do all the work which he was capable of doing at the time of an accident. I repeat, in our earlier slides, permanent partial disablement, what we discussed, there some of the result which is some of the disablement which is permanent in nature, but which reduces the earning capacity. In our part second of fourth schedule of Code on Social Security 2020, we discussed what is the reduction. So 20%, 30%, 50%, 60% reduction. There is a reduction in earning capacity. But now there is a permanent total disablement. When we can say that the disablement is total, when such disablement results in incapacity of an employee to do all the work. That's it. Very put in a very simple. I think see here, provided that can you read it?
Provided that the permanent total disablement shall be deemed to result from every injury specified in Part 1 of the or from any combination of injuries specified in Part 2 thereof, where the aggregate percentage of the loss of earning capacity as specified in the said Part 2 against those injuries
What does it
amounts to
mean?
100%.
It means we can say whatever the injury falls in a part 1 of the fourth schedule, we can say that permanent total disablement. I'll come again. We'll look at this schedule. See, part 1 of fourth schedule, part 1, list of injury deemed to result in permanent total disablement. See here, earning capacity exactly 100%. 100% when loss of both the hand or amputation at the higher side, loss of hand and a foot, see, very severe facial disfigurement, absolute deafness. So these are all we can say that the permanent total disablement. Or it continues further. See, interestingly, what is it? This is what part 1 of fourth schedule, one thing, or from any combination of injuries specified in part 2nd, we discussed just prior to that, part 2nd thereof, where the aggregate percentage of loss of earning as specified in part 2nd against those injury amount to 100%. 100%. Suppose if you don't find the injury in a part first, in a part 2nd, in case if there is a combination of 1 or 2 injury which resulted in reduction of 100% reduction, we can say that it is a permanent total disablement. Permanent total disablement. Very simple to understand. In a previous slide, permanent partial we discussed, there is a reduction in earning capacity, but disablement is a permanent in nature. But in this case, there is a permanent disablement which incapacitates an employee to do all the work. Since there is a 100% reduction in earning capacity. He cannot do any work. He cannot do any work. There, previous slides we discussed, he could do some work. That's what I think. Like the Upper Doba Sugar Mills Limited was Daulat Ram. I think like you understood. The question comes: how to decide whether it is a permanent partial or permanent total? What court will take into consideration? Court will take into consideration. Court will take into consideration. What court should take into consideration? Whether he has been incapacitated from undertaking any employment, and whether in that other employment the rest of the hand could be utilized or not. Suppose in our example, blacksmith fitter say, we discussed, just now we studied that he lost his index and middle finger. Whether rest of the hand could be utilized to do some other work or not, that is the question. When you look at a part second and part first, directly you can say that whether it is a permanent total or permanent partial disablement. Sometimes court also take into consideration whether the rest of the finger could be utilized to do some other work. Now we can say that it is, of course, it is a permanent. You cannot replace the both like index and middle finger, but rest of the finger could be utilized and he can work. Now we can say that there is a reduction in earning capacity, which has not incapacitated a person from doing all the work, which there is a reduction in earning capacity. So that court will take into consideration. Hope you understood the permanent partial disablement and permanent total disablement. Now we'll discuss temporary disablement. The title itself says that which is very temporary in nature. Anybody want to read? Anybody want to read this? Temporary disablement means a condition resulting from an employment injury which requires medical treatment and renders an employee, as a result of such injury, temporarily incapable of doing the work which he was doing prior to or at the time of an injury. It means such an injury, whatever the injury which requires the medical treatment and renders an employee, as a result of such injury, temporarily, very, very important this word, it is not permanent in nature, it is very temporary in nature. Temporarily, he was incapable of doing work, which he was capable, which was doing prior to or at the time of an injury. So it is a very temporary nature, just for a few days, that's it. Just for a few days, that's it. After that, when medical treatment is given, after that, so his earning capacity will be 100%. That's it, which is very temporary in nature. Hope you understood the permanent partial disablement, permanent total disablement, and temporary disablement. Clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I have to hurry because we know that November 13th we have to complete the syllabus. Fine. So we'll move ahead to the next slide where we'll discuss about what exactly the employer's liability for the compensation. Under what circumstance employer is liable to pay the compensation, or when employee can claim for a compensation, or when dependents can claim for a compensation. Certain conditions need to be satisfied. If these conditions are satisfied, prima facie we can say that the employee can claim for a compensation under the Compensation Act or the under the Code on Social Security. So we'll discuss one by one. Anybody want to read?
If personal injury is caused to an employee by accident or an occupational disease listed in the third schedule arising out of and in the course of his employment, his employer shall be liable to pay compensation in accordance with the provision of this chapter.
Exactly. See, these are all certain conditions. In case if these conditions are met, the employers are liable to pay the compensation. Now we'll discuss if personal injury is caused. One of the first condition, whatever the accident, I mean the injury, there must be personal injury. What do you mean by personal injury? Is it mere a bodily injury? Personal injury must be caused, is caused to an employee. What do you mean by personal injury? Is it limited to just physiological injury or bodily injury? Is it just limited to bodily injury? Answer is no. This personal injury, it also includes the mental injury, which includes the nervous shock. It is not only limited to bodily injury or physical injury, but also the mental injury. Mental injury. Because injury ordinarily refers to a physiological injury. But personal injury does not mean only physical or bodily injury, but also includes the nervous shock, a mental injury or a strain, which causes a chill. Because this particular personal injury is wider than that of the bodily injury. I repeat, the word personal injury, the legislatures they included here because it has got a very wider interpretation than that of the bodily injury, because it is not limited to the physical injury, but also it includes mental injury. Clear? Because see, in one of the case, the Indian News Chronicle versus Mrs. Lazarus. Indian News Chronicle. Indian News Chronicle versus Lazarus. This particular case which explains the personal injury is not limited to bodily injury, it also includes the other types of injuries. In this case, an employee employed as an electrician had frequently to go to a heating room from a cooling plant. We know that how the manufacturing sector or some of like the factory which works. The electrician, we know that being electrician, what he need to do, he frequently travels from the heating room to cooling plant or from cooling plant to heating room. And because of this frequent movement from heating room to cooling plant, which is resulted in a pneumonia and died after the short illness of attacked by pneumonia and died after a short illness of 5 days. Just imagine, was there any bodily injury in this case? There was no bodily injury. It is just a case of the pneumonia. The question comes here, what exactly the root cause of this pneumonia? That is the question. Court held that in this case, the injury caused by an accident is not confined to physical injury, and the injury in the instant case was due to his working and going from the heating room to a cooling plant, as it was his indispensable duty. So personal injury is not limited to the bodily injury. It also includes other the types of injury. Now, these are all certain essential elements need to be satisfied to claim for a compensation, or the employers they are liable to pay the compensation in case these elements are satisfied. This is the first element. What is that? The personal injury must have been caused. The second point, there must be an accident. There must be an accident or the occupational disease. Occupational disease. Occupational disease. What do you mean by an accident? As I said in a previous class, it means any unexpected mishap or untoward event or consequence brought about by some unanticipated or undesigned act which could not be provided against. It means what is the essential ingredient here? The essential ingredient here is unexpectation. Clear? There must be an accident. In case if it is the intention or expected, can we say that? Can we say that? I mean, suppose any employee voluntarily, in case if you go and expected that something will happen. I mean, so that's what accident is. There must be an accident. It means it must be unanticipated, or an occupational disease. Just now we discussed some of in one case which caused a pneumonia. Pneumonia resulted because of what is the root cause? It is an occupation. I mean the employment. So this is also need to be taken into consideration. Not only the bodily injury, but also the occupational disease also need to be taken into consideration. Occupational disease. Occupational disease. I don't go in detail because this list of occupational disease also contained in a schedule of the Act very clearly categorize certain the parts, A part, B part, or C part. So just like for your understanding now, so whatever like some disease caused, the very root cause of this like a disease because of the occupation. So in case any party is able to prove that the disease because of the occupation or the work or the nature of the work, so now he or she can claim for a compensation. So which is listed under third schedule. This is what the second essential element. The third essential element, that is arising out of and in the course of his employment, important. What is that? Arising. Are you with me?
Yes.
Are you following? So hope I am communicating, right? So this is what course of his employment. Two words you can find here. What are they? Two words. What are they? One, arising out of, and one more, in the course of his employment. Arising out of. The arising out of suggests the cause of an accident. The arising out of, which signifies that the cause. What exactly the reason? In essence, what must be the reason? Employment must be the reason. Employment must be the reason for such injury. Employment arising out of. And in the course of, what it signifies? In the course of, it signifies that the place and circumstance. which signifies that the place and circumstance. Place and circumstance. See, arising out of and in the course of his employment means, arising out of means the cause must be the employment. Employment must be the reason for such injury, one thing. And where must this injury should have been happened? In the course of. It means the place and circumstance. It must happen in a place of an employment. Very, very important. But of course, there is a notional extension of the premises that we'll discuss later. Notional extension of an employer. What exactly the premises include? Because whether this in the course of his employment, whether it includes traveling from and traveling to, that also need to be taken into consideration, because earlier legislations were very silent in this regard. Place to and the place from employment, because an employee after leaving from his employment till travel to his home, whether that time is included in traveling time is included in the course of his employment or not, that is a question. Later we could find like a number of cases of a court interpretation with regard to this, but very fortunately, very interestingly, beautifully, this legislator this time they crafted these provisions in a Code on Social Security 2020. I was very happy to look at these provisions in the Code on Social Security 2020, because earlier whatever court were giving a clarification, interpretation, those parts they were included in this the Code on Social Security 2020. Very updated the labor codes this time that we could see. There is no confusion. Of course, in some of the things they may take before the court of law. That is different things. But as far as possible, they included some of the court interpretation in this the legislations. So that's what I think. Like these things should be satisfied. And one more thing, I think like you understood the certain elements. One, there must be personal injury. There must be an accident or occupational disease. And third condition, arising out of and in the course of his employment. It means the injury, employment must be the reason for the injury or disablement, and this injury must have been happened in the course or the during the time. During the in a employment, in an employment. The place and circumstance is also important while deciding whether employer is liable to pay the compensation or not. Clear? Because a causal connection or an association between the injury by an accident and employment is very, very, very necessary. But of course, the onus is on the claimant to prove that the accident arose out of and in the course of an employment. Of course, whenever matter goes before the court of law, it is the duty of the claimant. The employee need to prove that this particular accident took place, they arose out of, employment must be the reason, and it happened in the course of an employment. That they need to prove. And one more, it is important, you could see in a later part, one more feature or essential element where employer is liable to pay the compensation, that is this particular injury must be resulted either in a death or total or partial disablement for exceeding 3 days. Just note it down. Whatever the disablement, in order to claim for the compensation under this code, those disablement should exceed 3 days. It should exceed 3 days. Whatever the injury which doesn't exceed 3 days is not eligible to claim for a compensation under this act. So one more condition, either this particular injury must be resulted either in a death where dependents can claim for a compensation, one hand, or else In case if it caused in disablement, such a disablement it should be exceed 3 days, exceeding 3 days. That is the case only they can claim for a compensation. So please note it down. Whenever the question of this compensation comes, these 4 elements need to be satisfied. One, personal injury. Personal injury, it means it not only includes the bodily injury, but also includes the other types of injury like nervous shock or the mental injury, mental trauma. And there must be an accident or occupational disease, and it must arise out of and in the course of an employment, and it must resulted either in a death or the injury which exceeds 3 days. So in case if you satisfy like these 4 elements, essential elements, of course an employee can claim for a compensation under Employee Compensation Act 1923 or the Code on Social Security 2020. If you have any questions, please ask. This is what the circumstance in which employer is liable to pay the compensation, and we also should discuss there are certain occasions where the employer is not liable to pay the compensation. So of course, we know that employer under certain occasions, employer may try to escape from the liability because in all the circumstances, the employer is not liable. There are certain occasions in which yes, of course, employer can escape from the liability by pleading certain things. That is also listed under the Code on Social Security 2020. So I hope we understood. So we'll move ahead and we'll discuss under what circumstance employer is not liable. Under what circumstance employer is not liable to pay the compensation. Have you understood the first part? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So no doubt. You don't have any doubt, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Because see, sometimes it happens in such a way that see, in one of the cases, the state of Rajasthan versus the Ram Prasad and another, the employee died due to the natural lighting while working at the site. Because in some of the factory setup, the employee need to work outside the premises. Now, employee died due to the natural lighting while working at the site. Now, what you want to decide whether employer is liable to pay the compensation? This is the case. You just after having like this many discussion, so can you just guess state of Rajasthan? Rajasthan versus Ram Prasad and another. What happened in this case? What happened in this case?
Employee died due to natural lighting while working.
Exactly. In 2001, this particular case decided by the Supreme Court, and you can find this case in a Labor Law Journal, page number 177. You can find this particular case. This is what the case citation, case to state of Rajasthan versus Ram Prasad and another. Employee died due to natural lighting. Whether employee will succeed in his claim or not in this case. Just you tell me whether employee will succeed in his claim or not. Because this is the case, employer may plead tomorrow that it had not happened in my premises. Or he may say, he may also say that no, this has not happened because the arising out of or in the course of an employment. Of course, he can prove that in the course of an employment, but what about arising out of? Whether employment is the reason? Whether employment is the reason? Yes?
No, sir.
Then Can he claim for a compensation? Yes?
No.
He cannot claim for a compensation? See, court decided, the decision of the court said the employee may succeed in his claim for compensation. It is no doubt true that the accident must have the causal connection with the employment and arising out of it. And one more thing, court said the deceased was working on the site, correct? He was working on the site and he would not have been exposed to such hazard of lighting had she not been working so. That is important point. In case if she was not working, say in case he or she was not working, whether they were exposed to such a natural lighting? Why they exposed to the natural lighting? Because they were working on a site. Now can we say that there is a causal connection between an employment and injury?
Yes, sir.
Even
Yes,
if,
sir.
I mean, even though employment directly had not resulted in an injury, but there is a causal connection between an employment and an injury. The court will take into consideration, suppose in case if he or she is not working in that site, whether they would expose it to such natural lighting? Of course, no, right? No, right. That's so. Therefore, the court said the employer is liable to pay the compensation in this case. The state of Rajasthan and versus the Ram Prasad and another. There is one more case, very interesting case. Very interesting case. That is one second, somebody. Can you wait for a minute? Sorry. Case I wanted to discuss the RB Mundra and Company versus the Banwari. Banwari. What is that? RB? You are following, right?
Yes, sir.
RB Mundra versus Mundra and Company. Company versus Banwari. Banwari. In this case, a person was employed as a driver on the appellant's petrol tank, used for the purpose of carrying a petrol in a tank. Simple to understand. A person was employed as a driver in a petrol tank. what this driver said, on just like a previous day, he reported to the employer that the tank was leaking. Obviously, I mean, in case if there is a leakage, accordingly, he reported to the employer that so there is a leakage. And so what they did, just a previous day, just they put water in it, just to detect the place from where it leaked. So water was put in it just to detect where exactly the leakage. And everything was done. And the next day morning, this a driver was asked by the employer to enter the tank to see from where exactly the leakage. I mean, next morning when they came, the tank was empty. They wanted to check where exactly is the leakage. And accordingly, he entered the tank which had no petrol in it. And for the purpose of detecting the leakage, inside the petrol tanker, he just lighted a matchstick. I mean, yesterday there was a full of water, and next day he came and the employer said you just went inside and you just check where exactly the leakage. As per the directions of an employer, so he went inside and he checked. And what he did, he just lighted a matchstick inside the petrol tanker. Immediately, the tank caught fire and the deceased received a burn injury, severe burn injuries. And later on, he succumbed to death. This is a case as an employer, what you would like to do? In this case, employer pleaded that I'm not liable to pay the compensation because I not directed him to lighted the matchstick inside the tanker. It is a common sense. What was the direction from the employer? The direction from the employer was that just to detect the where exactly is the leakage. Now, can employer escape from the liability of paying the compensation just by pleading that there was no instruction to light the match? Can employer plead that he was negligent? Can employer plead before the court of law that so employee is so negligent that it is a common sense that when you lighted the matchstick inside the petrol tank, it may catch a fire. It is a common sense. So employer pleaded that there is a clear case of like a clear negligence on the part of the employee. So what would like to give a comment whether employer is liable to pay the compensation or
So the employer should, according to me, because they said the tank was emptied and all that was done. So in that, even it was a part of the employee also, that mastic should have not been done. But they should have taken some precautions before sending him into the tank also, probably.
exactly. So two things can be taken into consideration here: the arising out of and in the course of an employment, whether both is satisfied here. Whether arising out of and in the course of an employment is satisfied in this case. Two, I mean,
Yes,
this
sir.
essential element, it is satisfied. And court also take into consideration what motivated him to do that work. What is the motivation? Motivation to do that work just to protect the interest of an employer. That's it. In order to protect the interest of an employer, he did some work. Now, how can an employer can escape from the liability of paying a compensation? So court said in this case, the employer is liable to pay the compensation since it had happened arising out of and in the course of employment. So this is what these are all some of the case laws which in support of employer's liability to pay the compensation. In a tomorrow session and next session, we'll discuss under what circumstance employer is not liable to pay the compensation. So that's it for the day.